Hello and welcome to UZREPORT.NEWS, and I'm Bahram Gaffarov with the latest news. Uzbek Meteorological Organization denies information regarding high rates of air pollution in Tashkent. Uzbekistan implements reforms to provide religious freedom. World Health Organization declares global emergency. Tourism Committee recommends tour operators to suspend tour sales to China. Meteorological Organization of Uzbekistan, UZREPORT, has commented on the information spread on the internet about the high rates of air pollution in Tashkent. Readings from equipment at the US Embassy are highly dependent on immediate factors such as wind gusts or the passage of trucks. Therefore, it would be correct to trust the conclusion made by American analysis, the organization concluded.
UZREPORT said that observations of the state of the atmospheric air are carried out at 13 posts located in 8 districts of the capital. Moreover, the observation posts are located in completely different zones, residential, industrial and near highways. Experts explain that the analysis and assessment of air pollution levels are carried out on such indicators as dust, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, phenol, ammonia and other heavy metals. To do this, employees of UZREPORT took air samples 3 times a day from Monday to Saturday at 7 a.m., at 1 p.m. and at 7 p.m. The priority pollutants in the air are dust, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide and ammonia, whose average annual concentrations in certain months exceeded the maximum permissible concentrations, the report said. There are several services for tracking the state of air, AirVisual and World Air Quality Index. As of January 30, according to AirVisual, the level of pollution in the capital's air was 119 microorganisms per cubic meter. Content of PM2.5 was 43 microorganisms per cubic meter. On January 28, the air pollution index was 110 microorganisms per cubic meter, and on January 29, 63 microorganisms per cubic meter. According to the World Air Quality Index project, the AQI did not exceed 207 for the last 15 months. The World Air Quality Index experts also published a table of AQI index and the corresponding content of fine particles. In accordance with it, it can be seen that the index 212 corresponds to the value of 150 PM2.5. According to the Uzbek experts in Tashkent, the average annual values for the concentration of PM2.5 in 2012 amounted to 34 microorganisms per cubic meter, in 2013 26 microorganisms per cubic meter, and in 2014 this was 26. At the same time, the highest concentrations of these substances occurred in autumn and winter period. This is mainly due to weather conditions and the heating season. Uzbekistan is characterized by increased content of suspended particles in the air due to natural features, dry climate, sandy loamy soils. The arid climate has a significant impact on the formation of suspended particles and their behavior in the atmosphere, UZREPORT noted. The New York Times has recently called the air in Tashkent very unhealthy. The pollution index, according to the publication, was 212 microorganisms per cubic meter, while the permitted indicator is below 100 microorganisms.
First Deputy Chairman of Senate Sadiq Safayev received a delegation led by First Deputy Speaker of Swedish Parliament, Asa Lindestam. During the talks, the parties discussed issues of strengthening inter-parliamentary cooperation between Uzbekistan and Sweden.
The parties discussed the development of inter-parliamentary relations, an important step towards dynamic progress of bilateral interaction between legislative bodies of 2 countries. Was a visit of First Deputy Chairman of Senate of the Oli Majlis to Stockholm in June last year, during which agreements were reached on strengthening interaction between the parliaments of these 2 countries. Uzbek delegation said it considers Sweden as an important partner of Uzbekistan, while bilateral relations are based on trust and mutual respect. The first of Swedish parliamentary delegation is the first of such a high level. Speaking about the priority directions for building up the inter-parliamentary dialogue, the parties noted the importance of further organizing exchanges of visits. They also stressed the importance of studying the experience of 2 countries in strengthening democratic processes, ensuring human rights and freedom of the press, gender equality, improving the legislative framework for reforming the economy and developing the social sphere.
I think it's very important to have all the children in school all the time, because if you are rich or you are poor, you still have the intelligence, and you need the experience of going to school, meeting other children and learn from each other. And then you can have even more educated in a higher education. In Sweden we can see that we can have a lot of sciences, doctors, engineers, because of we are educating everyone. And then everyone have to fulfill their dreams. They can be whatever they want to. So if I could decide, I will never have private schools. I think you could be proud of the region where you are living, in the municipality where the child is living, and go together with the neighbors.
As a result of meeting, cooperation agreements were reached on Uzbekistan's accession to the World Trade Organization, as well as on the development of UN Multi-Partner Trust Fund for Human Security for the RLC region.
Reforms underway in Uzbekistan also concern policy in the field of religion. The construction of Islamic Civilization Center is currently in process. The registration of religious organizations has been simplified and admission quotas to religious educational institutions have been increased and much more. All this was discussed in a more detail during the roundtable on the topic, the guarantee of religious freedom is an important basis for an open civil society.
The transformations in the country have created favorable organizational and legal conditions for the implementation of constitutional right to freedom of religion. For example, the state fee for registering a religious organization has been reduced by 5 times. The frequency of reporting has also been reduced. Now, instead of quarterly report, an annual report is given. Most of the issues concern the registration of religious organizations. We are talking about mainly missionary organizations. The goal is to cancel all available registration of religious organizations. As for the system of religious education, a 5-stage system of education has been formed, which includes secondary, higher, master's and doctoral studies. The International Islamic Academy of Uzbekistan was established on the basis of Tashkent Islamic University. It also houses a center for improving the skills of clergy organizations. The quota for admission of students to Islamic educational institutions has been doubled. To promote and spread the humanistic ideas of traditional Islam, the Center of Islamic Civilization, international research centers named after Imam Bukhari and Imam Tirmizi were built. Also, the Council for Religious Affairs under the Committee on Religious Affairs was approved. Today, it operates as a public advisory body. We had a quite frank talk today. We discussed available problems. We've also heard that a new bill is being in this direction. In addition, more than 20,000 citizens who were considered to be involved in terrorist group to some extent have been removed from the special register of law enforcement agencies, and the maintenance of such list has been also suspended. Last year, 472 people convicted of extremism were pardoned. With the help of humanitarian mission, more than 220 citizens were returned to the country from Syria and Iraq. The U.S. State Department excluded Uzbekistan from the list of countries of special concern.
More than 70 students from Uzbekistan are in China. No complaints have been received from them so far. The Senate of Holy Majlis in Uzbekistan reported yesterday. But what's interesting, a day before we were told that only 30 Uzbek students live in Wuhan. Considering the fact that the World Health Organization has declared a global emergency, the situation is becoming a little bit frightening. On Wednesday, representatives of Uzbek embassy in China even managed to urge citizens not to panic.
The Uzbek Foreign Ministry urged citizens to refrain from traveling to China because of spread of coronavirus. At the same time, many countries of the world have already started evacuating their citizens from Wuhan. A number of other countries are in the process of resolving this issue. Ambassador of Uzbekistan in China, Bakhtiar Saidov, had a conversation with Director of the Department for Europe and Central Asia of the Foreign Ministry of China. What's interesting, while the Senate is saying that some 72 Uzbek citizens are in Wuhan, the figure shared by Foreign Ministry is different. They are still saying there are 30 Uzbek citizens in the city. The Chinese diplomat informed about the measures taken by the Chinese government to curb the spread of coronavirus, as well as the prevention and treatment of the infection. The State Tourism Committee of Uzbekistan recommended tour operators to suspend the sale of tours to China. The World Health Organization has declared that new coronavirus outbreak is a public health emergency of international concern on Thursday. The agency highlighted the concerns about human-to-human transmissions. Chinese health authorities have said that there were more than 8,100 confirmed cases in the country. Some 170 people have died because of the epidemic so far.
Uzbekistan has 65 registered national brands. The Brand Finance unveiled its 2019 report saying that national brands in developing countries are growing much faster than those in developed countries. For example, the average growth in brand value in developing countries comprised 13.9% in 2019, while in developed countries it was only 0.4%. Uzbekistan is also placed in 17th in the ranking, while the cost of brand is unknown. The Uzbek government has said it will begin reducing the volume of wheat it purchases through state order system from 2021 as it embarks on a gradual transition to market rules in its agricultural sector. Wide-ranging reforms planned outlined in a decree signed a couple of days ago by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev do, however, envision retaining a degree of state control to ensure grain prices remain stable, that staple food supplies are not interrupted. Around 70% of arable land in Uzbekistan is currently used for cultivating wheat and cotton, providing employment for around 130,000 farmers, according to research by the International Labour Organization. Chairman of Uzbekistan Airways can lose his job as the transport sphere, in line with railroads, was under harsh criticism by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. The head of state stressed that Uzbekistan only closed its borders, while neighboring countries are far ahead of Uzbekistan in this direction. He also underlined that many officials engaged in these spheres still work under the old system. They have no initiatives. The dismissal of Bakhtiar Hakimov from this post will be on agenda of the next extraordinary meeting of shareholders of Uzbekistan Airways. Uzbek boxer Murodjon Ahmadaliyev tied Lin Spinks record for the fastest male boxer to become a unified champion in boxing, taking the WBA and IBA junior featherweight titles from Daniel Roman via split decision tonight in Miami. Ahmadaliyev won 2 cards and Roman won the third, all in scores 115 and 113. The 25-year-old southpaw Ahmadaliyev, now based out in California, nicked enough rounds in a close fight, and there were few out there arguing that it should have gone the other way. It was also competitive throughout, but Ahmadaliyev seemed to land the bigger, more telling blows consistently, and he also tended to close rounds stronger. Roman said he would like to do a rematch.
On the second and final day of the question and answer phase of President Donald Trump's impeachment trial, Democrats made a last-gasp attempt to persuade Republican senators to vote to allow witnesses. But Republicans appear to be leaning toward blocking the Democratic effort and bringing a quick end to the Senate impeachment trial.
There's no need to go on to anything else when you've already seen so much.
Trump's defense team argued senators already had enough evidence to weigh, saying Democrats themselves claimed they had an ironclad case.
The House managers have consistently said over and over again, before they came here, they said they had an overwhelming case. It was already buttoned down, they didn't need anything else. They said when they got here that it was proven, every single allegation, every line in each article of impeachment, they said proven, proven, proven. So don't be taken in by the idea that we can't have a trial here, you can't have a valid proceeding unless they bring someone in here to testify live.
Lead House prosecutor Adam Schiff rejected that argument and proposed limiting depositions to 1 week, similar to the Clinton impeachment trial.
You can imagine the scene in any courtroom in America where before the trial begins, defense counsel for the defendant stands up and says, "Your Honor, if the prosecution case is so strong, let them prove it without witnesses." That's essentially what's being argued here. Well, I will make an offer to opposing counsel, who have said that this will stretch on indefinitely if you decide to have a single witness. Let's cabin the depositions to 1 week. Is that too much to ask in the name of fairness?
Possible testimony from John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, is of particular interest. After reports said he wrote in an upcoming book that Trump told him he wanted to freeze military aid for Ukraine until it investigated his political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter, an allegation that strikes at the heart of the impeachment case against Trump. U.S. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo held a bilateral meeting with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Vadim Pristaiko on Friday during his visit to Kiev. Pompeo is the first U.S. official to visit Ukraine since impeachment procedures against U.S. President Donald Trump began. Pompeo's visit was initially scheduled for earlier this month but was postponed. Next week, the Secretary of State is expected to visit Uzbekistan. It was a blockbuster holiday season for Amazon.com. The company reported that sales jumped and profit far exceeded expectations as the world's biggest online retailer shortened delivery times and drew more shoppers to its Prime service. Jeff Bezos, Amazon's chief executive, said in a statement that the company has now more than 150 million paid Prime members, a 50% increase from the retailer's last disclosure in 2018. Total net sales rose 21% to $87 billion in the fourth quarter. Shares soared after hours, up more than 10%.
This has been all the news we intended to share with you. Stand by on News Report. Thank you for watching.